Hey.
All right. Welcome to SwitchCast Live. Thank you for joining us tonight. It is Wednesday. You already knew that, but we did too. That's why we're here. I have a special guest with me tonight in our quest to educate, edify, and entertain you on the drive of your life. We are covering important topics related to car ownership, acquisition, disposition, and everything in between this season. And one of those topics, which is, I guess, painful but shouldn't be, is insurance. It's something we all have to deal with. Well, we don't have to. I guess if you drive a Nissan Altima, you don't need insurance. But we're supposed to, and we definitely should, and especially if you have nice cars, you need to insure them. So with me tonight is my friend Rob Strachan of Strachan Novak Insurance. He did not pay to be on here. This is not a sponsorship.
I'm here for the free bourbon that I brought.
We appreciate that. Liquid sponsorship. So he's going to be answering our questions tonight. My questions. I have a lot of them, but also your questions. So feel free to throw those into the comment flow of where you're watching, and Tyler will be filtering those and picking the ones he sees fit to relay to us. So we'll do our best to answer those questions. And of course, we will have our characters back tonight, including the Corvette curmudgeon and the shrewd negotiator and a couple others. So we're here to have fun and to learn a lot tonight. So, Rob, give us just a quick background of your experience and why you're qualified to answer our insurance questions today.
Absolutely. Well,
and if you're not, just make something up.
Yeah, I'm going to completely make that up at this point. I'll preface by a couple things. I wanted to say hello to my boys. They're at home watching. They requested on my way out to say hello.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out. And then also, I'm the messenger. So be kind on the questions that you're posting, because this is an industry that a lot of people don't like, but it's a necessary evil. You know, the government makes you, right? But also, if you have nice things, you want to get them insured as well. But it doesn't have to be painful, as Doug mentioned. So my prior life, so I've been on the broker side for 11 years. Before that, worked with an insurance company for 5 years out of that, and went to Ohio State, specialized in insurance. Not many people do that. So I was born into it, family business, and promised myself I'd never move back to Cleveland, Ohio, and I did 11, 12 years ago with my wife, so here we are.
I feel like a lot of Clevelanders promise themselves they'll never move back.
And here we are.
Everybody I meet from here is from here.
Yeah, it's a good place to call home.
I guess I'm the idiot. I moved here from away.
Yes.
Chose it. All right, so I picked something up in the news recently, a couple of items in the news. I'm sure you heard about this, but there was Junction Auto Group, a Dodge Chrysler Jeep store near here, had 3 SRT Dodges stolen literally right out of their showroom. They drove them through the showroom glass, Gone in 60-second style, and made off with them. And that's not really a fantastic story. It's not a special case right now, because Challengers, Durangos, late model Hemi SRT Dodges are getting stolen left and right. Mm-hmm. And shortly after that, I read an article that major insurance companies are refusing to insure late model Mopar products, as well as 2011 or newer Kias and Hyundais, because of the theft rates. I guess with the Kias and Hyundais, you can basically just plug in a USB cable, and
there's the TikTok challenges and all that stuff. Yeah.
So they're so easy to steal that they're getting completely blackballed.
Yes.
Tell us your perspective on
the insurance world, on the insurance perspective. So obviously insurance companies aren't in the business to pay a lot of claims, right? Mm-hmm. But they do, right? That's the contract. If they insure something, there's a loss, they make you whole or indemnify you, right? Mm-hmm. Well, as these claims continue to come up, they're seeing a track record, and they're not blackballing all of those cars. It's certain areas, certain demographic areas that they're saying, hey, if you have a car in this zip code, we're not going to insure you.
But Junction Auto Group is in like not a nice area. It's in a farm area? Like that's not.
If
I guess a zip code you would think that they would get stolen from.
So if you were if you were the insurance company, right, and say I'll give you $1,000 for the year, and you insure my $75,000 car, it might get stolen, and there's a trend that's getting stolen. Would you put up that bet?
I mean, I wouldn't insure anybody. I would never go into the insurance business, period.
So yes, to answer your question, insurance companies are combating it with almost just saying, hey, we're not going to insure you. We're not going to insure those cars. So it's a huge problem.
So if you buy a Challenger Hellcat, how do you get insurance?
So I'm sure you probably know just as well as I do, or probably more. Those automakers they're backpedaling, right? So they're doing updates on the chips. I read something that I think it's Kia. They're giving the club, the old clubs back in the day.
I did read that too.
they're giving them the police stations.
Yes.
And they're like, hey, if you have a Kia, go to the police station. You get a club on us.
Club.
Yeah.
Or just go to eBay or your local Goodwill because they're probably there donated by your
It's
parents.
wild. So it's a problem, but the industry it's illegal to redline, and that's what it is. So you've got 44236 or 44087, certain zip codes. Mm-hmm. You're really not allowed to say I'm not writing in that zip code.
Okay.
It's actually legal for insurance companies.
Well, I was going to ask you about the legality of redlining a particular car and just saying we won't insure that car. Can they do that?
They are. I don't make the rules. I just play by them. Right. It's a really fascinating conundrum that the insurance industry is now facing. But every insurance company, they can decide based upon rate if they want to be aggressive, right?
Sure.
So we have some insurance companies that just say, like, we just don't want youthful drivers. When somebody turns 16, those rates for that, husband, wife, or that family, if they're paying, say, $3,000 a year for their like 2 cars, mm-hmm. Junior comes in at 16 years old, their rates will double, triple with some insurance companies.
I'm not looking forward to that.
And why? Because they've actuarially looked at what's a good bet, and that's a really bad bet. But there's other insurance companies out there that do play in that. So when we get a client that has a junior coming on their policy, we shop it out because we have to, right? That's the right thing for the policy holder. So,
right.
Yeah. So to answer your question, if I owned a Kia or the Durangos in certain areas, I look to sell them. Call you.
I mean, we don't typically get offered Durangos or Challengers on trade for our cars. I mean, like once or twice a year we might get one in.
Yeah.
But with all this stuff in the news, it's like I don't even want to take one in on trade. I'm going to lock it in the back building and park 3 other cars around it.
It's a problem.
And we've got some rare, priceless stuff here, but like that would be the one I'd be worried about getting stolen.
Well, you see it all over the place. I mean, there was just something in Cleveland like 3 days ago that somebody pulled up right behind a manual. I think it was I forget what it was. It was a Hellcat.
Okay.
And they open up, and apparently if you jiggle the steering wheel and hit the ignition button, it unlocks the wheel, and then they jump start it by pushing the car with another car, and then they're gone. It's fascinating.
That is really fascinating to me because. Do any of you know where I'm going with this?
I don't think so.
Okay, the stick shift owners, we're snobs, and we say, oh, nobody will ever steal our cars because criminals are idiots and they can only drive automatics. To the point where, like, I'll go to the UPS in my stick shift car, the UPS store, and I'll, like, park it outside, door open, car running, because I'm like, ain't nobody going to steal that. But...
They do.
They understand bump hunters. Starting and
yeah.
It's
it's all on video too. So I think you can Google it, and it was a white one. No, it was black with a white car bumping them, and then they just took off.
That sounds like a software issue. Like I'm a software developer by trade, I guess, or by day.
Yeah.
That sounds like something all the guys in Michigan were sitting there like, they just forgot to test it. Like to see, is this going to unlock the steering wheel or whatever? Because there's got to be a computer in there controlling all of that different stuff.
And do you guys watch, like, do you look at I don't have TikTok, but have you seen like the TikTok challenges with all these vehicles?
No.
It's rampant apparently.
I'm only on TikTok because Ethan makes me.
It's the content.
I still don't know how to use it. He's trying to get me to do video responses or something. I don't know.
Yes, but there are issues in the industry, and that's how insurance companies, they just kind of either outprice themselves in the market, or they really just remove themselves from certain markets.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
oh wow.
So there's nothing regulating them from like price discrimination, from just saying, "Oh, we don't particularly want this." So.
Price, no. But saying we're not going to write in a certain geographic area, there is legality.
Right. They just say
guards
it with
around that.
with their dollars.
Correct.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what small businesses do. That's what we talk about doing all the time. Is you don't tell a customer no. You
Right.
just say, "Here's the price."
And you know they're not going to go for it.
Right. Or here's the terms. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the next piece of news I thought was interesting. This doesn't come as any surprise, but it had to come. Insurance costs are set to increase 8% on average this year due to inflation. So, I mean, this has ripple effects across the board, right? We're still not seeing all of the effects of inflation on our everyday lives. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to get far worse before it gets better because, now it's affecting, the last couple of years it was a party because assets were going up in value and everyone's like, oh, I'm rich on paper.
Right.
Now the assets have stopped going up in value and living costs are going up in value.
Yeah.
And it's compounding because, stuff like this. So that's going to be really
of eggs.
Interesting because 8% is a huge number.
Yeah.
The thing I found interesting was the breakdown on the most expensive states in which to be insured. Pop quiz. What is the most expensive state?
It's got to be either Florida or Michigan.
Okay, so I'm impressed.
Georgia, Florida, or Michigan.
The question I was going to ask is what's the number 2? Because everybody says Florida is the number 1 because of all the old people, I guess. Is that it, really?
No, there's layers to that answer.
I mean,
but yes.
also just people in Florida are terrible at driving.
Yeah, you drive anywhere
it's
in Florida,
insane.
they're flying, right?
Yes.
It's the legal system as well.
Okay.
So, number 1 is Michigan.
Number 2 is Michigan.
Okay.
Right? Yes. No, I'm sorry. Number 1 is Michigan. Okay. Michigan is nearly double all of the other states other than Florida. It has a hefty lead on Florida, but Michigan is double the rest of the 48.
I've got buddies that have insurance agencies. They own, the same thing I do. Like, why in the hell are you doing insurance in Ohio? It's the 3rd cheapest state in all of America. Like, you can get an automatic triple your income if you write in Michigan.
Okay,
or
so
Florida.
Why? One state away.
Yep. So
same demographic of people. What's the difference?
Every insurance company or every state has different insurance rules. Michigan, Florida, and I think New Jersey and Pennsylvania have a thing called PIP. They're a PIP state. They're a
picture-in-picture?
Picture-in-picture, exactly. Personal insurance.
Do they do that on TikTok?
Something. But
no, you got to get on Be Real for that or something. I don't know.
They are a no-fault state.
Okay.
So here in Ohio, right, if you hit me, you're at fault.
Right.
Right?
Arguably.
With you, it's always a question. If you hit me in Michigan, it doesn't matter. Like, my insurance is coming into play. Okay. So there really isn't a who's at fault in that type of situation. So at the time of a loss, if you hit me and my legs have to get amputated, right? You should really be responsible for that, right? And your insurance policy should come after me. Well, in Michigan, that's not the case.
But wouldn't that cut down on civil suits?
No. There's so many layers
would cut down
to
on
that.
rates because
so there, and again, there's other layers to the answer which I can't answer. But that is the legal system in those states with those departments of insurance that straight up say, it's not a good situation for insurance companies, and that's why a lot of insurance companies don't write in Florida. If they write in Michigan, their rates are going to be, triple what they are in Ohio.
Interesting.
An average vehicle in Ohio, if you're looking at a middle of the road, decent coverage, policy, full coverage, you might look at, $750 a year. Michigan, you're looking at $3,000.
Golly.
It's wild.
Want to live in Michigan.
It's wild.
It's farther north than Ohio.
So, go back to your original comment about the 8%.
Yeah.
It's a thing. I mean, and the why. It's not just inflation. I think inflation is probably, if you got a list of the reasons why, it's going to be. There's a lot of things baked into inflation, right? So
that's the excuse for everybody,
right?
Inflation, raising
COVID,
prices.
Inflation, all that stuff, right? But
I'll say that we'll get a tag below our video.
That's so chip shortage, right?
Mm-hmm.
All these cars out there, they're all plastic now. They're made to just crumble at the time of a claim, and there's sensors all over these cars. So a little minor fender bender back in the day, you didn't have sensors, right? Or they're more steel on those vehicles, and it was very predictable in those claims. That same fender bender with a plastic car, that thing is going to be 4 or 5 times the cost because you have to recalibrate all the sensors. You have to replace all the plastic that popped. So that's one piece, right? Supply chain. I read something the other day, labor, right? So every company industry is worrying about labor. The auto industry, if my son was 18, I'd tell him not to go to college because 642,000 jobs in the auto industry are going to be open in 2024 next year. 624,000. So,
and the union don't care about a degree.
No, exactly. It's wild. So that's another piece. Social inflation. I don't know if you've heard of social inflation. It's a nerdy insurance term.
I don't like the term. It scares me a little bit.
So these verdicts in these states, right? Florida just had a verdict for an auto claim where a trucking company, a jury awarded $1 billion with a B, $1 billion because of a claim. Billion.
How many people died?
I think it was like 2. So what happened was the company, it's hard to find CDL drivers. They hired somebody. He was an illegal. He, killed 1 or 2 people. When they did the toxology test, he had, some type of methanol or what have you, some drug, and they just threw the book at him.
Yeah.
So $1 billion verdict, right? So these insurance companies they're backing out. They're just
the insurance company only covers up to what the limits of their insurance. So the $1 billion is a made up number. It's just bankrupting anybody involved in the trucking company.
But if you're looking at like a $500,000 limit, that's standard or the highest limit you can have for personal auto. I mean, if they're writing $500,000 checks, policy limits on a regular basis, where actuarially you're like, well, we probably average is 100,000, but so they're just backpedaling like crazy. Plus all the hurricanes, everything like that. That's a whole nother thing. But
oh gosh,
yeah.
And so that leads me down 2 questions, which we'll get to. We do need to break for a commercial and a fun segment, but that does set me up for a couple more questions. They're easy questions.
Softballs.
Yeah, softballs. Good. Softballs. All softballs tonight. Next time will be hardballs, curveballs.
SwitchCast is brought to you by Celebrity Machines. Celebrity Machines offers more than 250 screen-accurate license plates as they appeared in movies and TV shows like Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, The Fast and the Furious, Breaking Bad, and so many more. Celebrity Machines also makes our dealer insert plates, as well as our commemorative 2539 plates from the fastest Cannonball run ever. Visit CelebrityMachines.com for more info and use promo code SwitchCast to save 25.39% at checkout.
Which brings us to our wall of shame. This one came to us directly fairly recently. And as Rob and I were talking, Rob, you said, what's your weekly segment? The claim of the week?
Claim of the week.
Yeah, so ridiculous claims. Where do you find that? You said that's on your LinkedIn?
That's LinkedIn, and we're starting to put them on Facebook, but
You should hit up our producer, Ethan Huffnagel, and have him put them on the TikToks and YouTubes for you.
Can you do that?
He is a social media promoter.
Is he cheap?
What is your title? Digital content. What are you? You're a
This sounds like a title he gave to himself. I got to be honest.
Self-proclaimed.
Yeah.
digital marketer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that sounds
anyway,
more real.
I need one of
Never
that.
mind.
You need to get out there with these claims of the week. The most popular thing I've ever done in my entire life is the Wall of Shame. It's literally just putting up a page on my website where I make fun of ridiculous inquiries or
people
things
love it.
customers do, and they love it. Anyway, so we've integrated that into the podcast, but I think you should do the claim of the week. I think that would be
It's pretty great.
a good thing. So a guy inquired on a BMW M3. We're asking $27,000 for it. Now, we don't have major margins in cars as people think we do. But anyway, here's his inquiry. Hi, I'm looking for this type of car. My budget is $19,000 max. I have a loan for a bank. That is what I have to get. I know the price is $27,000, but are you guys willing to work with me? I'm in need for a car. I need to get back to work.
No better way to do that than in an M3.
Dave Ramsey would not approve.
That's phenomenal.
You need to get yourself a cheap beater if you need to get back to work.
Wow.
That is a classic want, not a need. And I'm sorry, we're not in the business of charity. Like, if you want me to feel badly, that's not it. I don't feel badly because you need to get back to work. So, oh gosh. Okay, so
That's pretty good.
we're talking about
Do you need a second?
We should do
Take a drink.
combined weekly segment of the claim of the week and the Wall of Shame crap.
it'd be
Just
fun.
like all auto
ridiculous
industry. Yeah.
Like my wife backing out of the garage, she's going to kill me if she hears this. But so this is a couple of years ago, and she works at a hospital system, and she had to get early meeting, 4:00 in the morning or something. So she's getting ready, and I'm laying in bed, and I heard the garage go up because it's right below our house, and backs right. My car's in the garage or in the driveway. She T-bones my car. Strong enough to push it off the driveway. Sorry, babe. And I heard it, and I don't know if I even want to get out of bed. It was years ago.
Man, the paperwork on this.
Oh, gosh. But the cool thing about insurance, and again, I'm nerding out, if that was with same insurance company, obviously, if one insurance company hits another insurance company or another car and they're insured by the same insurance company, no deductible. So there you go. There's a little
Interesting
tidbit that you would have never known.
I've heard, now again, this is hearsay. You're coming at it from the source. Somebody said that they got hit or hit somebody else who was insured by the same company.
Yeah.
And because of that, they basically, like, both of their claims got lost or denied or whatever because the company didn't have any impetus to, like, go after the other company or try to sort it out. They were both insured by the same company. So they're just like, nah, we're going to screw you both.
Wow.
I heard
Hopefully
that.
that's not the case. There's got to be more layers of that story.
It was one of those
just
that
happened
I'm like,
with another one of our clients, and the adjuster. We have a claims manager, and the adjuster was making our client pay their deductible. I'm like, wait, time out. Like, here's this part of the policy, and this you shouldn't be making them pay $1,000. And they're like, oh, yeah, you're right. And a lot of times with insurance companies, that's a tough job. Can you imagine waking up every day and just going to battle? I mean, you just put on your jacket and you're getting out of bed and you're just going to battle all day. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And I was with the insurance company for a while, and
so okay,
it's
so
tough.
that I was gonna ask a different question, but we'll skip
we're
to this one.
down a rabbit hole here.
No, it's fine. It's going the right direction. So I think a lot of reasons people hate the insurance topic is because it's not having the insurance, it's filing a claim.
Yeah.
They always think I'm going to get screwed, right? Health insurance, car insurance, whatever.
Sure.
The adjusters, the company, they're out for profits. They're out to screw me, and I have to fight. And it's sad because it's like you have to fight against your own company. And
Right.
you and I talked about this. I had a claim recently, and I was having to fight to get just normal rational value, and I was able to prove my case easily, and the insurance company wasn't. They just pulled a number out of thin air, essentially. Why is that?
Right.
And I know it's not unique to
Yeah.
this claim. Like people talk
across
about it
the-
all the time. Why does that exist?
I think the insurance industry, now I'm going to say two sides of it, right? One is insurance industry, they don't want to hold on to these claims, right? They want to settle them, get them done, and move on, right? Because if they're not nicking around with these things for 2 months, it's a loss leader, right? So they want to turn and burn. So my suggestion is when you ever do get a claim or in that situation, talk logically with the adjuster, right? If you
when your
approach,
person goes on vacation for a month and doesn't tell you or hand it off to the other person, it's hard to.
call your broker.
Anyway,
yeah. So you have to talk logic to these people, and logic usually prevails, right? So a neighbor of mine, his daughter just got in an accident, totaled a car. He asked me, he said, "Do I? This is what they were offering me. Do I have to take it?" Like right off the rip. And I said, "Well, what did they offer?" And it was probably $4,000, $5,000 less than what he was expecting. So I said, "Well, did they provide you comps in a certain geographical area of that vehicle with the same amount of mileage, all that stuff?" And he said, "Well, yeah, he gave me 4 vehicles." I said, "Okay, send those over to me." So I looked at that versus what else was out there that I could find, and they were low. They were probably $3,000, not 5, but $3,000 lower than what even I found. I didn't even do a great Google search, right?
Sure.
I said, then, copy, paste these and get it back to the adjuster, and it settled $3,000 higher, right?
Sure.
So my suggestion, it's not let's make a deal. I think the insurance companies, they really aren't out to make people's lives harder. I just think a lot of times people think that their cars might be worth more than what they are.
That's every day in my job.
But so to answer your question, I do think the insurance industry as a whole, it has a bad rap because people always think they're getting screwed, and I don't
Sure.
think that. I do think that logic always prevails in these discussions with the adjusters. Sometimes not, but I just had a conversation with somebody. It was a liability claim, but the insurance company paid $510,000, and they were pissed. Like they shouldn't have that. They should only pay $200,000 for that. There was no money out of our client's pocket. The insurance industry put up their company paid $510,000, and our client was still pissed. So it doesn't matter either way.
Right.
The insurance company is the bad guy, right? So when it
Sometimes I think people forget though too that the times that like the book value helps them out. Like I had a Ford F-350 stolen 10, 12 years ago, and I have been trying to sell it for $12,000 for ages, and I couldn't because the car nerds will know why. It was a 6-liter Power Stroke, so enough said. But I couldn't sell it. It gets stolen, and the insurance claims adjuster calls me and is walking me through all this stuff, and she's like, "What? You don't sound disappointed at all." And their book value was like $15,000. I'm like, "No, I'm cool." I'm like taking down all my for sale listings. So they don't see us selling it for 12.
Yeah, I think we all hear the bad stories too, right? So I hear a lot of other stories like that, right? Like people aren't bragging on their social media or their buddies saying, "Hey, I got $4,000 more than I should have." Right? They don't say that, right? So that's everything from building insurance to somebody's basement flooding. People like the industry gets pays out a ton of money, and usually probably more than what they should on property losses, not so much auto. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of comments on the chatter there about that.
In the collector car world, the best way to protect yourself is agreed value insurance.
That was going to be my second point.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about that?
Golly. Okay. So that really is an interesting. I don't want to go like too far down this rabbit trail, but you and I kind of went back and forth on this a little bit because I'm one of the weird people that needed agreed value on a car I was using on a daily basis.
Your daily driver.
On a very odd type of car. It wasn't one that fit in a normal collector box.
Yeah.
And we went back and forth on that. There's almost no company that will insure that will do
driver.
agreed value on a car that you're using for regular use. I did find one.
Yeah.
But the specialty companies have all sorts of restrictions on how you can use it, what you can use it for, which is kind of annoying. Like, to me,
I would agree.
It's your car. Like, if you're driving at 2,500 miles a year, who cares where you're driving it? Right?
Charge me for it.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
define a rate. I'm
Yeah.
like,
exactly.
If that's the risk, define it.
But you and I were going through the company you had was basically saying there was a difference between agreed value and guaranteed value. Or to back it up, my issue was, and this is why it's
we are
important.
Go down a rabbit hole here.
We are. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is why it's important as a person to read contracts to essentially, like, you have to look out for yourself. An agent, you are representing my interests.
Correct.
But the only person ultimately that represents your interests is you. When buying a used car, it's caveat emptor, right? Buyer beware.
Yeah.
Anytime other than maybe an attorney that you hire specifically to represent your interests, you have to watch out for yourself. And so I'm looking at the language of okay, well, how are they figuring out what my car is worth in the event of an accident? Because there's a number of ways to value it. You can look at a book, NADA, Black Book, MMR, whatever.
Yep.
Or you can do replacement value. Some insurance companies will do research and call around and look at comps.
Right.
Some of them will use specialty valuation tools for collector cars.
Yep.
But I'm looking at it with a 97 Suburban going, the book value is $2,000.
Yeah.
I paid $8,000 and I can't replace it for $20,000. So, like, how are you going to determine
It'd be a nightmare.
what the value is?
On a standard policy.
And the response I got was actual cash value, ACV. And I'm like, great, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And there was no definition for that.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, how do you determine it?
Right.
Because if you're going to look at NADA, I'm screwed. If you're going to look at comps, fine.
Right. Yeah. But yeah. So, and every insurance carrier defines that a little bit different.
Right.
Right. So I think you're probably a anomaly where it comes to you're driving a vehicle that is worth $18,000 more as your daily driver.
Right.
For most of the people here, if they have that same vehicle, the right place is an agreed value vehicle. Yes. And there's all these caveats. So look at your policy or talk with a broker of what you can and can't do. A certain amount of miles a month, year. Can you race them? No insurance company wants to do that. But there are specialty markets for that. There are high-end. Am I allowed to talk about certain insurance companies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So there's a carrier called Pure, which caters to the high net worth individuals.
I've heard of them. Yep.
They can do daily driver, agreed value.
Mm-hmm.
Chubb is another one. Cincinnati Insurance, which they're a massive insurance company that they now have. It's called It's Cincinnati Private Client.
Mm-hmm.
They are now adopting these new forms because people are buying some really sweet cars and they're not just sitting in their garages anymore.
Yeah,
they're driving.
It's a new demographic of car collectors,
Yeah,
right? My
it's
generation
pretty awesome.
wants to use collector cars as opposed to the previous generation who takes them to shows and sits in lawn chairs.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So the policy forms are changing, right? Perfect example. The insurance industry always has to evolve. So when Uber or Lyft and all these other ride sharing, it probably took 2 years that the insurance industry finally caught up to what the policy form should read.
Right.
But they are evolving
Because
they
insurance
have
companies
to.
used to have just blanket exclusions for anything like pizza delivery or any commercial
Oh, yeah.
use.
Oh, yeah.
So people were screwed because they had no idea that they needed a special
recent.
policy.
Recent. I mean, we had probably a 5-year, 6-year period of time where we only had 1 or 2 carriers that would be able to do it. So if Junior is, at college, driving for Uber, and we find out about it, it's like, listen, you either have to exclude Junior and that vehicle off your policy, mom and dad, or we have to change you to another insurance company. And more times than not, back then, mom and dad would call Junior and say, well, you're not
Give me the
driving
keys.
Uber. So,
Oh man.
I saw somebody delivering pizzas in like a recent 5.0 Mustang. in the
Sweet.
salt. And I was like, respect. But it was a really young looking guy. I was like, how are you affording the insurance on whatever you're doing right now?
There was a guy, I think he owned his own pizza joint, but he had a Dodge Viper GT2, and he would deliver pizzas in that.
That's phenomenal.
Yes. I had a picture of it somewhere sometime, but I don't know where it went. Speaking
Can I talk
of,
about a little bit more on the value of vehicles? Just a little
Yes.
another tidbit or
Yes.
something to think
Go
about
for
viewers. So custom things you do to your vehicle, right? So if you a Range Rover, you put all the widgets and gadgets and stuff you can bolt onto
those
vehicles.
are technical terms, folks.
Yes, exactly. From an insurance guy. You got the Jeeps. You have all that. So if you are customizing a vehicle, even on a standard insurance policy, you really should tell your carrier about it, because at the time of a loss, they're going to pay you what the car's worth off that VIN number, not all the stuff you've added
Right.
to it. So just another, because people put some pretty sweet stuff on their car.
Right.
So the Jeep owners got to make sure their angry eyes are insured appropriately.
Flip me over if you're reading this. Flip me over.
Because if they're
yeah,
not,
that too. Those stickers.
because if they're not, they'll have real angry eyes.
Exactly.
When they have to
There we
file
go.
a claim.
I was wondering where that was.
Oh, I got a good joke. I gotta think about this to make sure I get the. It's an insurance salesman joke.
Oh, jeez.
A lady.
God. You were waiting for this.
No, I wasn't. It just popped into my mind. It's not even my joke. Most of them are, but this one's stolen, which means I'll probably get it wrong. But a lady goes to her doctor and says, and for a checkup, and the doctor says, "Man, I've got terrible news for you. You've got 6 months to live." And she goes, "No, what? For real?" He goes, "Yeah, 6 months to live." She goes, "Doctor, is there anything I can do?" He goes, "Yes. Go spend time with, go date or marry an insurance salesman." She goes, "Why? Will that make me live longer?" He goes, "No, but it'll seem like it."
Thanks, Doug. Thank you. You have been waiting for that. Oh, wait.
All my life.
Yeah, because how often is like an insurance joke can be relevant?
I think
I
it's
show
life
up at
insurance
party.
salesman technically,
Yeah.
but you can reuse that
Show
joke.
up at
You
a
don't have
party
to
and
give
like,
me
oh,
credit.
God, Strachan's coming. He's going to talk about insurance. I really don't tell people what I do until they ask me. So I love it, though. It's great.
All right. Next segment. Let's go to commercial.
All right, SwitchCast is brought to you by Boxcast. Boxcast is a live streaming company based in Cleveland, Ohio, and they serve broadcasters and viewers around the world. Their founders launched Boxcast back in 2013 with one purpose, and that is to make people a part of the experience. If you're looking to live stream your podcast, church service, car show, sporting event, wedding, or even your cannonball attempt, Boxcast is an easy and flexible live streaming platform for organizations. Boxcast is so easy that we're broadcasting this entire show with a phone. So head on over to switchcars.com/Boxcast for your free trial. Alrighty, and now we've got Mr. Curmudgeon here in the studio with us with his
Corvette
fancy...
Curmudgeon.
Oh, sorry, Corvette Curmudgeon.
This
address you by your
segment
full name.
is brought to you unwittingly by the Corvette Buy Sell Trade group on Facebook, which is a source of much curmudgeonly
Which you're
activities.
back in now, right? You're active?
I wasn't actually banned. I was accidentally on Facebook for my business account and didn't realize it.
Oh,
I'm
gotcha.
not very good at the fancy dongles
These
here.
are fancy thing. All right, Mr. Corvette Curmudgeon. Do you have any recommendations for younger generations of Corvette owners and potentially expensive insurance policies?
Yeah, friggin' slow down. Stop racing around them streets in your Cavaliers and wrecking your cars, and you won't have expensive insurance. I had to take my friggin' kids off of my insurance. They wouldn't friggin' drive proper. But younger Corvette owners now, there ain't no young ones that should have Corvettes. Friggin' took me till I was 50 to buy my first one, a fixed income pension, yep. And so these rich kids walking around friggin' phone influencers or whatever they call them and making all that fake money and the crypto. Is that what paying for them young kids to have Corvette? No, they need to drive something responsible, Buick or something like that, till they get some good driving skills, and then they'll have cheap insurance. I pay about $50 a year. I have liability only on my car. I ain't paying them rip-off friggin' comprehensive coverage. I only take it to 3 shows a year.
Do you also take the insurance off in the wintertime, when I'm assuming it's parked?
Yeah, for sure.
Alrighty. Well, thank you, Mr. Corvette Curmudgeon, for answering that for us this week. A very topical question. Alrighty.
I had some questions for him, but that's all right. I'm glad he's gone.
We don't like to let him stay around for too long, honestly. We just he swoops in and out, like real quick.
Gotta get back to my light beer. My Kino.
Is that a Winston
You
hat?
should start bringing out like a big can of Natty or something.
Is that a Winston hat?
That is a Winston
That's
hat.
fantastic.
Got it for free. Sponsoring a car show. I haven't paid for a hat since 1972.
I do have a very related question real quick from the audience.
We should probably get to some of those sooner than later, so go for it.
So Pero from the chat asks, should I insure a C5 or C4 Corvette?
Well, yeah, they're friggin' priceless.
I thought we had Mr. Curmudgeon get out of here.
You asked the Corvette question.
They also say that the real theft protection from earlier is a manual choke.
Oh, yeah.
Because I got to be honest, I'm not sure I could start a car with a manual choke.
Yeah.
I've never driven one.
Is the question either or C4 or C5? Because if
I think
that's the
it's-
question, the answer is C5, obviously. C4 ain't worth insuring.
I do think it was mostly in jest, as if, are they even worth it?
Do we have a serious question?
No. We do. So we've got Empire Bear 13 says, "Hey Doug, there's a 2013 Z06 Vet at Toy Barn in Dublin. What is your opinion on it? If you've seen it or could look it up." They say Z16. I'm assuming Z06.
It's not at SwitchCast, so my opinion is it's a terrible
there we
deal.
go.
That's another Corvette question. I mean, come on.
Oh,
Friggin' can't buy a car from a dealer. All friggin' rip-offs. You make all that money in their back-end insurance, and they try to sell you them dang warranties. Corvettes never break. You don't need a friggin' warranty. You got to buy the car from the original owner on the Craigslist or a Hemmings ad. That's how I got mine. Should never buy a car from a dealer.
alrighty. Well,
That was helpful.
that's all the Corvette questions I've got for now. But if any more come in, I'll be sure to save them for next week.
So, speaking of buying cars, probably back to the serious stuff with Rob, our guest here.
Like
Rob
the other
is from
segment.
Strachan Novik Insurance. He's answering all our questions tonight. If you're just joining us, probably the second most common hurdle I hear in terms of excuses people give for whether or not they're going to buy a car behind "let me ask the wife" is "let me check on insurance."
Yes.
And that one never bothers me because more often than not, insurance for a toy car is way cheaper than people expect. They come back going, oh, it's like $50 a year to add this portion of my policy, and they don't understand why. And you touched on this a little earlier when you were talking about the inflation of insurance costs this year in terms of what drives that, but what actually impacts rates? I'm going to answer what I know first and then let you answer. I remember reading about it's not so much about the value of the car itself, but it's other like second layer things like how safe is it? Like what's the average medical claim? And what are the parts costs? And even like the random like Pontiac G8s. There's no parts available for them because it was this obscure chassis that they made. So if they get damaged at all, they just total them out because they can't get parts. So that drives the rate for a specific car. So now that I've sort of answered my own question just from my observation, what's your expert answer?
I mean, you hit some of the big ones, right? But a lot of it matters the driver, right? So the car is one thing.
Okay.
But clearly, if they're buying a vehicle from you, they have insurance, right? Normally, if you have a BMW, right, the premium on a BMW, and if you're buying a, you name it, $150,000, $200,000 car, the premium is not going to be that much different because the premium's driven so much off of the insurance score of the individual.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously the car is secondary, but
I don't want to know my insurance score.
it's getting worse by the month. But insurance score is a fancy word for, and every insurance company has a different algorithm, right? But it's your credit score. It's where do you live?
Which I don't have.
How many vehicles do you have? Do you own a house? Do you rent? Do you do you eat, Kit Kats or Skittles? Like the amount of data that big data has on all of us is insane. So we don't even know all the factors, but these insurance companies know more about us than what we know about us. Really, it's crazy. So if you're looking at a vehicle to purchase, the current premium that you have is not going to be that much different than the,
Sure.
within reason of a vehicle, right? Then
unless it's a type of vehicle that may, like a Dodge Challenger that has
right.
super high anomalistic. Is that a word?
Animalistic.
Anomalistic theft rates.
Yes. So other factors, right, is I think you hit a nail right on the head. You can have a vehicle that is a 2022 that you just purchased, and a 2017 car could be more expensive because it's that data of how easy it to fix it versus if the insurance company needs to just total it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Insurance companies want to fix it, right? But other factors that come into play is obviously other drivers in your house. If you've got youthfuls, we talked about that, and what type of policy do you need, right? So we talked about if you need to go to specialty market versus a standard market. What I mean by that is you've got the Hecox, Cunn and Skelly, and those specialty carriers for collector vehicles that really just sit, or they have a mileage limit, versus a standard carrier that we Liberty, or all those other carriers. So I don't know if I answered your question.
No,
but
that's helpful.
Really, I guess what I want to go back to is if you have decent auto rates now, when you're buying a vehicle, it's not going to be astronomically higher. If you're paying a lot right now for insurance, it's going to be a lot when you buy an expensive car.
Well, because I guess the difference between you having one car or six, you can't drive 6 times as many mileage.
Right.
Right. And the insurance company's big liability is when you're on the road.
Correct.
With other people.
Yep.
So they might be looking at the total loss or the theft loss, but like it's not that much more risk for you to have another car.
Right.
Because you can only drive one car at a time.
I mean, I couldn't believe it. And you might, people don't believe this, but I was looking at, we have old files from back in like the 70s, 80s, and I was cleaning out an office, and I found an auto policy from like 1988. The premium was the same in 88 than they are now.
What?
And then I didn't believe it,
How?
so I started asking people in our office that were still around then. They're like, "Oh yeah, auto rates." I just wrote a full coverage. What was it? It was a Nissan Juke. 500,000, 500,000, 500,000, $500 deductibles. It's like $280 a year. I've never seen a premium that low ever, and that was just 2 weeks ago. So for a business owner in town, yeah. Yeah.
It's
crazy.
What's your opinion on minimum coverage for minimum budgets? Was that the safe auto or general auto or something
general.
like that? The general.
You want my honest answer?
Yeah.
I despise those. We don't write it. We at our office, if somebody says, "Hey, I want an auto quote," we won't write them. So we have a minimum of limit that we'll write, and usually it's 250,000 per person, 500,000, so it's a 250, 500.
Mm-hmm.
And the why is, personally, it's almost a moral thing where we're buying insurance for a reason, because if you hurt somebody, if you hit somebody, it's your responsibility to make them whole, right? If you're buying the state minimum 25,050, I mean, you hit me or my wife or you or anybody in this room you're screwed.
Right.
Oh,
that's why
it's a bad thing.
I've watched the uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage on my policy just climb and climb and climb.
And I think it's going to get worse.
Friggin' Ultima drivers.
It's going to get worse. Or the Jukes. The Nissan Juke drivers.
You were saying something different.
And that is, as the economy continues its switch, I think the uninsured motors and underinsured motors, that premium is going to continue to go up because less and less people are buying insurance.
Yeah.
So.
I have many more questions that we're not going to touch on. I knew this was going to be a two-part before I even started, and I've thought of more questions as we've gone. But the question that really all of us want to know, I'm lying, it's just me. How you're talking about insurance score, and you joke that mine is going down by the day. It's the price I pay. How does a Cannonballer stay insured? Follow-up question: why don't underwriters just Google their clients? Like, come on. What? Yeah.
So I'll answer the follow-up question first.
Okay.
If you're a business owner, they do usually Google you. If they're insuring a business, they're going to Google the person. Again, I don't know how you slipped through that crack, but I have no idea.
Over again.
But
that documentary coming out is not going to help.
Oh God. And Boxcat.
The pre-stress.
Your premium is going up. So I think
Don't
to
tell them,
answer that
Rob.
question, I think the insurance industry really doesn't want people to insure Cannonballers. I know there's a specific exclusion on an insurance policy that states that if you're on racing with an auto policy, it's not going to cover.
But typically that's on a racetrack.
Correct.
Which baffles me because most people on a racetrack are safer than the people. Like, you can go out and do street racing in the middle of the night in your stolen Challenger and wreck 8 people, and they'll cover that.
Correct.
But you go out in a controlled manner on a racetrack. Oh no, we're gonna drop your entire policy. We can't have those types of dangerous activities.
Yeah, I'm not going to answer that. But back to your question,
bunny trail there.
They're going to, and I think this is what would happen. Cannonball, you're going, right? God forbid there's an accident. Contractually, I think they are responsible for paying that claim. Mm-hmm. But I really do believe that next month you're just getting canceled. They're just going to send a direct notice of cancellation. But it really defines, and I always say it's smaller claims. Insurance companies don't dig in. They just they want, like I said earlier, they just want to get rid of the claim. If they're a big claim, they're digging in. They're trying to figure out what's going on. But Cannonballers don't. And also, one other thing, and we're going down a rabbit hole, but when you're filling out the application, there's questions and applications for a reason, right? Answer them accurately and correctly, because at the time of loss, insurance companies go back to that application, and if you falsify something on it, that's they're hanging their Winston hat on it to deny the claim. So I liken to a dog bite claim that we just had the other day. Actually, it wasn't even ours. It was a friend of a friend, and they called me for consulting me, and I said, well, did you buy the dog, which is a pit bull, before or after you sign up for your policy, your homeowner's policy? Because if it was before and you answered the question, no, I don't have a dog, and then the dog bit somebody and it's really bad, they're going to deny the claim. But if you bought the dog after you bought the policy, you're okay. So if you're buying a policy online for Cannonball and you answer, no, I'm not doing anything Cannonball-ish,
they've never asked me that. I've always answered the questions they've asked, honestly.
And that's all I tell people to do. Once you start talking about Cannonball, it's kind of starts shifting in my seat a little bit.
The discomfort has increased. I've noticed it from over here. Like, I'm even a little...
I get real insurance-y.
Did I send you the live stream link from any of my runs?
I refuse to watch them and look at them.
I've got no stake in this, but I might say you shouldn't do that there, Doc. Recommend maybe
Send
not.
to my cop
maybe a
friends,
negative.
too. What-
Yeah, that's
Well, they can't do anything.
He's
It's
not
out of
the
their-
underwriter or the claims adjuster. La, 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 la.
I'm gonna get calls from insurance companies tomorrow that we represent.
It's all alleged. These are fantastic stories that I make
as
up
long as those
that I
vehicles
tell
are
on the
not insured
internet.
by me, I'm fine.
We don't know.
Okay,
I mean, technically, they've all been Arnie's vehicles. So.
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, but anyway, cool. Great. On that bombshell. Ethan had a question. I do want to cover this. This is a softball.
Okay.
Red cars. Do red cars cost more to insure? I think this is a common thing.
It
It is a myth.
It is a myth.
Why do people think that?
I don't know.
Well, okay, I know
can
that
answer.
answer. The answer is because they think there's this, I don't know, thing that keeps going around the internet that says that red cars are more likely to get tickets
Get pulled
from
over.
cops.
Is that real? Is that true? You think?
No, it isn't.
Okay.
Statistically, it's not.
So theoretically, if you get more tickets, your insurance goes up. So if you
Right.
believe in one, I think that's the other. It's true.
But insurance companies do not look at color
No.
in their actuarial
their-
tables.
No, that is not part of their algorithms that I
Okay.
know of. So
Is it also true for the whole it's got a back seat to be better on insurance? Like I imagine that can't be real.
No,
Like my
that is-
911 is no cheaper on insurance because it has useless back seats.
no, not at all. Not at all.
I have heard
The
that one.
horsepowers.
I hear that one more than the red car thing. Personally, is like I don't know if I just where I go on the internet, but it's like they put back seats in it, so it's better on insurance.
Yeah,
Just-
no, that's
I think
Seems
it's
bizarre.
I think it's for marketing because there's so many people that say I got to have a back seat because I got a kid, so I want to have a fun car, but
Yeah.
I need a place for the kid.
yeah.
So
Theoretically, I think it would be even more expensive because you have more people in the car, more people get injured.
That makes sense.
there you go.
But again,
Buy a one-seater.
We got one right over here. It's not for sale, but I'm sitting right next to
pretty
it.
sweet. Is that street legal?
No. That for those who are listening is a Ferrari 312. It's not a real one. It is the Rush movie car. It was Niki Lauda's Formula One car. It's the replica they used for the movie. That is sitting in the showroom next to our podcast studio, which is a pretty cool view, along with a BMW M3. So moving on to the Shrewd Negotiator, brought to you by VinWiki. This story comes from another great Facebook group. This is where I get half my material, basically, like 4 different Facebook groups. And the news, of course. A client comes in, not to our dealership, but to a dealership with a 380 credit score and says, I don't want to put any money down. The best responses to this clown, well, they weren't in-person responses, but from other car dealer employees, my favorite ones were, you won't need to because you aren't buying anything, and the next 3 years aren't looking too good either. Judging by your credit, you should have plenty of money to put down because you're not paying anyone else. And my favorite response to I don't want to put any money down is neither does the bank.
That's pretty good.
Well, that is going to just about wrap it up. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
I'm sorry we didn't have more time. I would love to have you back because there are so many, many more questions. We've only scratched the surface. I think I got to about a third of the questions that we had.
Did the decline of viewers just plummet because it was insurance?
I don't think so. This is a topic everybody needs to know about. Yeah, so we will have an insurance part 2 for sure. Stick around, and we're going to move on to the props and the flops of the night.
Alrighty, and the props and flops are brought to you by SwitchCars. SwitchCars is the enthusiasts dealership where we buy, sell, consign, service, and store only cars that we like ourselves. Check out our hand-picked inventory at switchcars.com. And our pick of the week from SwitchCars inventory is
2002 BMW M3 Coupe. factory 6-speed manual, and it is in rare white with black interior. That's right.
Where
It's
is that?
not gray interior, so it's worth $5,000 more.
Look, I
This is
like
true.
my gray interior, Doug.
I know. I'm just stating facts from the resale.
It's just, the rest of the world hasn't caught up with how cool it is.
Does it cost less to insure a car with gray interior?
It's more. Yeah.
It's more?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Shoot. I've got 2 of them.
All right. I'm going to do prop of the week first. Prop of the week comes us from our friend John Sabo, who was at the Porsche dealer and spotted a client's car, a Porsche 991 Generation 911 with 250,000 miles on it.
Wow.
People always ask, oh, can you put 100,000 miles on 911? Yes, you can. The guy, it was the original engine. The guy tracked it regularly. He had snow tires on it. He drove the piss out of it.
So much respect.
It was on its second gearbox. Not a bad deal for 250,000 miles and a PDK transmission. That shows how robust they are. But yeah, props to that guy for driving the snot out of his car. That's a really fun car to drive that many
That's
miles.
amazing.
Yeah, and it, just shows, like, drive it to the track, drive it home, rinse and repeat. That's why people love Porsches. So that is our prop of the week. Our flop of the week. Tesla is recalling 360,000 vehicles with quote-unquote full self-driving feature due to risks it can pose at intersections, says CNN, even if the driver is paying attention and ready to take over control of the car. Quote, the FSD beta system may allow the vehicle to act unsafe around intersections, such as traveling straight through an intersection while in a turn-only lane, entering a stop sign-controlled intersection without coming to a complete stop, or proceeding into an intersection during a steady yellow traffic signal without due caution.
Wow.
I'm like, so what? That's like your average Nissan Altima driver. Like, not even. That's amateur hour. Steady yellow traffic signal. Like, Altima drivers, hold my beer. I'll run this red. That's not unsafe.
Did you see the picture on that Facebook group today with the angry orchard sitting on top of the steering column going 90 on the highway?
Yes. Yes, I did. And Rob, I think this will make a good question for a future episode, but how in the world does you know where I'm going, the complexity of insuring self-driving cars? Like, who actually gets insured?
We'll get that. We're not going. 902. No more Cannonball questions. No more Tesla questions.
Oh, gosh. Well, Rob, thank you for coming on. How can people find you, get in touch with you if they want to sign up for insurance or cancel their policy? Tell us about your company.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, we're Strachan Novak Insurance. We're here in Twinsburg, but we write in about 5 different states around us, and we have multiple carriers. So what we do is we shop the market, make sure you're in the good spot, coverage and pricing. sn-insure.com is our website. So find me on LinkedIn too. I've got claims of the week.
Yeah, I'm excited to check that out.
It'll get different, right?
It'll be on the TikToks and the YouTubes and stuff soon with Ethan's help.
Yes.
Awesome. Well,
thank you, Doug.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on. Thank you to Rob for being here. Thank you to Ethan and Tyler. Thank you to our sponsors, Boxcast, Nuts for Sticks, Switch Cars, Celebrity Machines, Stephen Holm Woodworking, and our bumper music is provided by Emily and Ivory. You can stream the full album on Spotify or SoundCloud. This episode will be available next Monday in audio format wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you for listening and watching, and we'll see you next Wednesday at 8 p.m. as we look forward to edifying, educating, and entertaining you on the drive of your life.